That's probably it's been years since the offensive line has put up a good run like that to start the season.
Yeah, and like I said before, it's hard to overstate how important the running game is to that. They can't pin their ears back because they've been running, like delays and little draws and running plays that in passing down situations. They just did it last week, even in crunch time with the game on the line. Tate's getting the ball on a 2nd and 15 or whatever it is, and passing situations where they're running the football. So it takes a little bit of the edge off of the pass rush, and then Hoyer's release is well documented. So all that helps. But yeah, I had a sense. I had no idea how many it was, but I was just sitting here thinking about it, trying to remember him getting sacked, and there really just haven't been very many.
No, not at all. And that's how you know when you can't think of them off the top of your head there like that. Only 5 throughout the season. And as I had the stats up, you know what? Defensively, this is like sometimes you don't need numbers. Like you just look at a list and it makes everything stick out. Carlos Dansby leads the Browns with 31 tackles. The next 4 leading tacklers for the Browns are all defensive backs. That alone sums up what's wrong with this team. Guys getting to the second level, especially in the running game. Your next 4 are Whitner, Hayden, Gibson, and Screen. That's your corners and your safeties. They are your top 5. They're 4 of them leading tacklers on the team. That shows you teams are getting way too much into your second level.
Yeah, true. When your linebackers, when you've got, you got a starting linebacker that's a rookie in Kirksey, and you've got, defensive linemen that aren't making tackles in a running game. You don't have a Phil Taylor and a Kaba Rubin in those top tackle numbers. You don't even have a Desmond Bryan or a Paul Kruger or Sheard among your top 5 tacklers. That's a problem with your running game. You're just not getting the stops soon enough.
You know what?
And,
we use the phrase, you brought up Sheard. You just reminded me. We use the phrase post 99 a lot. I was shocked when not really once I thought about it. The Browns sent me a list the other day of a bunch of different things coming out of the game, and one of them was that Jabal Sheard, with his sack he got, has now put himself, I believe, I'm looking to pull up the list so I can say this exactly. He's in the top 10, and I want to say he's either 8th or 9th all time on the Browns sack list now, and the only
since 99. Since 99?
Yeah, no, in Browns
all
history.
Time.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the list so I can read it to you, but the only other post 99 player that's on the list ahead of him is the next guy in front of him, which is Cameron Wimbley. Sheard's got 23 sacks as a member of the Browns. Wimbley has 26.5, and then there is nobody post 99. Here, I'll give you the list. I'm pulling it up right here. The Browns' all-time sack leaders. Now, of course,
let me see how many I can name.
Okay, all-time sack leaders. Go for it.
Bill Willis.
No.
Paul Wigton.
No, you got to remember. Hang on. They only kept official sack stats after 1982, so keep in mind that this is the official list.
Lyle Alzado.
Nope. This is
Bill
all
Glass
time,
on that.
not single season. We're talking about career sacks, not single season.
Not Mac Mitchell. He was too early too.
Nope.
Okay, read them off to me. I can't come up with names.
Clay Matthews leads the list with 62.
Okay.
Michael Dean Perry, number 2. Rob Burnett, number 3. Carl Hairston, number 4. Big Daddy Carl Hairston. Reggie Camp is number 5.
Reggie Camp, unbelievable.
Yep. Anthony Pleasant. Chip Banks is number 7. Then Wimbley is number 8. He has 26.5. He ended up number 8. Jabal Sheard in only the 2011, 12, and 13 seasons here is 9th on the list. And then Kennard Lang and Jameer Miller ended up 10th on the list with 22.5, which will show you, too, that since even 99, when Miller and Lang played on the team, nobody has gotten any kind of pressure on the quarterback consistently. But once Jabal Sheard gets 3.5 more sacks, he will become the leading sacker in Browns post-99 history. That's something for a guy that hasn't been here that long.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable. And but no, Jameer Miller, he was post 99, and so was Kennard Lang, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what I mean. They're both below him. They were both 99
both
to 01
okay, yeah.
and 01 to 05, both of those guys. And that'll be it. And then there'll be nobody except all of those other names are right off the top of the head, Browns. And that too. Think of the days when you had all these guys' years overlapped. I mean, you had Hairston and Camp and Pleasant. Well, Pleasant was a little later. You had Chip Banks. Those guys all on the same teams getting after the quarterback with Clay Matthews and with Michael Dean Perry at the beginning of his career. I mean, those are some formidable. I mean, look at that. All of those top 7 guys overlapped each other's careers for the most part during the 80s and 90s. That was a pass rush that we all remember.
Yeah, that's true, and we really haven't seen it, and it's even this year, it's like I said, it's been less than what we thought it was going to be. Of course, everybody came in this season again thinking wrongly that the defense was going to keep the offense in games, and it's been the reverse of that so far.
Yep.
Just again, the reason we watch, because games aren't played on paper; we all know they're played inside of television sets. We don't.
Remember last year, people were so quick. Ray Horton and those guys were so quick to try to move Jabal Sheard out of the way for Mingo, and he got moved from a defensive end to a linebacker who played part-time, and you know what? 3 years in a row now, Jabal Sheard has led the team in sacks each season, yet coaching staffs continue to try to, move him out of the way for somebody else or put him in a different position, and yet he just keeps doing his job, man. That says something I've always liked Jabal Sheard. I didn't like when they switched him.
He's I don't know what he did maybe to fall out of favor with his coaching staff, but he kind of started the season as not a starter. You're
last
you're
year
playing,
too.
Kruger
They switched
and Mingo
him
with your outside linebacker spots, and you got Kirksey in there and Kruger and other people taking you've already converted him from a defensive end to an outside linebacker, and then he can't start for you as your leading sacker. So he's finally getting a little bit more playing time. I don't know if he was dinged up or if he was just out of favor for practice habits or whatever, but good to see him back in there, making a contribution.
It's like we talk about with Manziel. You got a first-round draft pick in Mingo. You got a third-round draft pick or whatever, Kirksey, fourth round draft pick. So, and that one was drafted by the regime. You've got two big money linebackers in the way in Kruger and Carlos Dansby. But, it started last year with Ray Horton when it was like, well, we're bringing in Des Bryant. We got to change the defensive line. So let's move Sheard to linebacker. He can go over and be a backup linebacker here. And then now the same thing. He's like, but he continues. That's kind of what I talked about earlier, that mentality post 99, the way Cleveland has done so much of their talent decisions. Here's a guy that people have been trying to find a way to keep off the field, yet he leads the team in sacks over the last 3 years. It's like, cut off your nose to spite your face, why don't you? So, anyways,
it's cooked into the soup when you're changing regimes every year, and you've got your coaching staff coming in. The coaching staff doesn't last more than 2 years at a time, and people have to, you can't get away from that until you get some stability in your staff.
And that's it. Hey, last note, Browns fans, by the way, Tank Carr of the week here for his play the other day. Had that blocked punt, first time since 2003. 5 years that the Browns have had a safety as well. And he also had that big tackle, if you remember, that trapped Tennessee back near the 10-yard line. Late in the second half of that game. So special teams player of the week, Tank Carter. As I said the other day, now you see why he stays on my Madden roster, even though he's the lowest rated defender on the team, because man, can he be some special teams. And so good to see him honored though. And two, also, I'm not a big Chris Tabor fan at all. I never liked when we let Brad Seeley go and all of that, but after such a tumultuous bye week for him and a lot of people putting pressure on him, cool to see the special teams come up, although they were a flag away from also having the fumbled punt return too. But good to see the special teams bounce back last week.
Yeah, they really did a nice job, especially the punt block, and I won't restate what we talked about on Monday, but it's if I'm behind in the game, I'm coming after every punt. That's just the way you have to play. I'm glad to see them. And even though, as you said, and he admitted that they didn't even have a block on that day, on that particular punt, it just someone forgot to pick him up, and he found himself able to make the block. Hey, just wanted to mention a couple of college football matchups that look really good this week. Buckeyes are off, so maybe I won't have to park myself in front of my tube from noon till midnight like I did last Saturday. But you've got some nice games. You've got the Red River thing with Texas, Oklahoma. You got TCU playing at Baylor, number 9 versus number 5. A nice Texas matchup there. Alabama at Arkansas looks like a great game. Oregon at UCLA. So you've got some good ones for Saturday, and as usual, I'll be glued to the college football scene, and we can talk about that a little bit on Monday.
For sure. Speaking of, you just reminded me, and I was going to do this in the next segment, but I'll mention it here before we go to the break. Did you hear the Ole Miss story? They were so stoked after that upset of Alabama the other day. They did all kinds of damage. They tore down the goalposts, wrecked up the field, and they did one of those, I don't know if it was an Indiegogo or crowdsource or you funded or whatever, but the athletic director literally went on the internet, put together a fundraiser, and said, you guys got to pay for this. Listen, you guys got to pay for the damage. It was like $30,000. It was $11,000 for each of the goalposts that were torn down, $50,000 fine from the SEC for fans charging the field, and $3,000 in stadium repairs, $75,000. It took less than 3 hours for the Ole Miss fan base to raise $75,000 on the internet to pay for it. But yeah, the AD said, listen, you guys got to pay for this, man. And they did. They paid for the damage they did, including a 50. Now, I have just a tiny bit of an issue with, but hey, it's your sport, it's your money, do what you want. But average Jane and Joe chipped in $50,000 to pay the fine to the SEC, who of course has monetary problems, as we all know. But anyways,
right. Well, that's so they can do it again this week. Here,
exactly.
They didn't want any lingering expenses hanging over their heads when they tear them down this coming game. That's amazing. I had not heard that. But
the perks.
I'm not surprised. Although something inside me suspects that it might not have been Joe Six-Pack at the game. It might have been some big-time Mississippi football boosters and people with a little bit deeper pockets that
did you see the field
for that
did
money.
You see what they did?
That's a cool story. But yeah, the pressure's on because you want to tear them down next game too. So let's go for it.
Did you see the field? It was a sea of. You couldn't tell where the crowd started and the field began because it was just one giant sea of people as they were tearing those down. And you get perks from, it was Kickstarter was where they did it. So some of the perks that they gave out was for a $5 donation, you got a thank you letter from the university personally. And the highest rewards were $500 and $1,000 donations got you a 3 or 6 inch piece of the goalpost cut up into slices and sent to everybody. They sold every piece immediately and joked that maybe we priced them too low because they immediately sold out. 760 donors contributed a grand total. They went above the 75,000. $92,433 raised in less than 48 hours to pay that fine and have it reminds me of the old joke. Hey, you're fined $500. Well, here, coach, here's a check for $1,000. Why? For the next one too. I'm just going to go ahead and pay you for it now. So we got ahead of ourselves.
Get the turf ready for the next game. Yeah, I forgot all about the game of the week there. And looking at that schedule, number 2 Auburn at number 3 Mississippi State. By the way, if you haven't seen Mississippi State yet, you've got to check them out. Dak Prescott, big, strong quarterback, runner, thrower, looks like a real Heisman candidate. If you haven't seen Dak Prescott play yet, you want to see the Mississippi State Auburn game this Saturday at 3:30 on CBS.
Yeah, take advantage of the Buckeyes off weekend and take a look at some of the teams falling down to the pack that's going to allow the Buckeyes to be in the race come down the stretch. I'm telling you, I think every team's going to end up. Matter of fact, I just saw that yesterday. We talked the other day about the one-loss teams. There's a couple more undefeated matchups over the next 2 weeks that are going to whittle away a few of the one-loss teams.
Florida
and then
State,
the other
Florida
ones...
State, Notre Dame, for one, yeah.
Yeah, right. And then the other ones are lesser teams. There's a couple of lesser teams that are going to fall at some point there or not be a part of that. I mean, you're going to end up with the majority of all your top teams there with one loss. So it's going to be interesting to see how the season shakes out.
Exactly right. Yeah, remember that in 2012, there was one undefeated team in the country, and it was Ohio State, and that was because they didn't play a bowl game or a championship game, conference championship game. One of the reasons, I should say, that they were undefeated.